others. We will have that story a bit later, but now let's go to matters education, where the Teacher Service Commission has embarked on a process to recruit 35,000 teachers ahead of January, in accordance to President William Ruto's promise of more teachers. The move is the first step towards filling the existing teacher shortage of about 116,000, as estimated by the TSC. And as Shadrach Miti reports, education stakeholders led by the Secretary General of the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers, Akelo Misori, has lauded the move but demanded that the TSC employs all teachers on permanent and pensionable terms instead of short-term contracts and internships.
Commission says the country has a teacher shortfall of about 116,000 teachers. The Kenya Kwanza government says it will fill the existing gap within 2 years by hiring at least 58,000 teachers every year, beginning January. And now, the Teacher Service Commission TSC has announced 35,500 vacancies for teachers to be hired by January next year, just before the rollout of junior secondary. Majority of the teachers to be hired will be for grade 7, the first cohort of junior secondary learners under the competency-based curriculum. According to the TSC, 9,000 teachers will be hired to teach secondary schools on permanent and pensionable terms of service, while 1,000 teachers will be hired to teach in primary schools on permanent and pensionable terms, and a whopping 21,550 will be hired as teacher interns to teach in junior secondary, while another 4,000 intern teachers will be hired to teach in secondary schools.
The learners who are in public schools, especially the primary schools, many of them are suffering, or they have suffered for too long. You find a classroom of 100 learners and maybe one teacher and assistant. That has been very unfortunate, because we end up having learners who are not reachable by the facilitator, especially as we implement the CBC.
The teachers must be those teachers who know the content and the breadth of the curriculum in secondary school education. Because already even grade 6 was posing a real challenge, especially in the integrated science.
Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education (KOPET) has maintained that for a smooth and well-coordinated management of junior secondary, the Teacher Service Commission must deploy secondary school head teachers to manage junior secondary schools.
There must be a principal posted in those primary schools to manage the post-secondary, post-primary teachers who are working in the primary school environment.
Teacher interns for primary schools will receive a monthly stipend of 15,000 shillings, while those for secondary schools will get a monthly stipend of 20,000 shillings. According to the TSC, the teacher internship is a one-year program meant to equip competencies and knowledge of persons entering teaching profession.
The biggest question we are having, good, the government has promised to employ these teachers. Are they going to affect the teachers who are in the private sector? The reason being, most of our teachers, that is in the private schools, might want to be employed by the TSC, because TSC is more permanent and pensionable, unlike some of the private schools which there's no pensionable employment. And these teachers in the private sector have been prepared, have been trained, the schools have been taking them for in-house training. The school management have really invested in those teachers.
In his pre-election pledge through Kenya Kwanza's Education Charter, President William Ruto promised to employ 116,000 teachers in 2 years, spread in 2 batches of 58,000 every year at a cost of 25 billion shillings. Shadrach Miti, KTN News.
Thank you, Shadrach, for that report. But now let's go back to Nyandaro, where President William Ruto said that the Mombasa Road that is set to go through the Aberdares National Park